So today is kind of last chance Harry for this thing. If I can't get it so that it'll start, run, and move on its own, I'm going to drag it out back, wrap it up until spring. So let's see what we can't do with this thing. So if you remember the last ride, I drove it out here and this thing stalled. Turns out the carburetor fell off. It just fell off. So I redid all the clamps and it's on here properly. I also redid the throttle. So that's why it wasn't running right, and that's why it died. It wasn't an ignition issue. The second problem is it didn't seem like we had enough power to start it. And you see that chewed up red wire right there? That goes to the starter. So, considering the distance of the starter from there, underneath, all around, and all the way up here, the wires are pretty long to carry the current to start this thing. And if you got something chewed up like that, that's not helpful. So, I'm going to do a quick starter bypass to get this thing fired up so we can run it down to the driveway. And lastly, this nice switch situation that we put together. I've checked this switch and it appears as if it's got intermittent shorting, because if you guys recalled, when it did die, the starter was running continuously. I turned off the key, it was still running continuously. I pulled the wire harness out of it, right? I yanked this off and it stopped running. So I'm not exactly sure what is going on with that entire mess. And to be honest, I'm really not in love with this relay and the fuse there and the whole shooting match. So I think we're going to redo that too. But in the meantime, I do want to get it fired up and get it on the driveway. It's a pain in the neck to work here. I keep getting poked in the head by these branches and all. So let's see if we can't get it running and back to someplace a little more civilized. All right, to power up the ignition system, I put these two wires together. I got the choke on. I got that hooked up to the starter. Let's see if this mess works. So that's good. And sounds good. Now I want to get this over to the driveway. Here. We're moving again. Just so much easier to work on over there. The rest of the electrical system is turned off. The whole thing, I have it rigged up kind of janky. Getting it on blacktop is a big step forward. So the starter sounds a little better now that it has full current. Some don't smell good. Dragging a brake or something, but it's idling, and I'll take that. Maybe it just needs to warm up. dragging. Have to jack it up. That felt a little warm. Yeah, I'm going to have to figure out if something's dragging here. That looks pretty tight. Alright, I'm going to spend a few minutes kind of going through it, seeing if we can't make it better than this. So I rode it around, and as it got hot, it started to misfire and stumble. So here it is. I'm breathing hard because I had to push it down the driveway. Anyway, what I want to do is check the pulse generator to see if there's anything strange going on there. So the pulse generator should be between 30 and 300 ohms. It's not 30. I just turned to 2000. It's the pulse generator is an open circuit. Right here's the two wires you probe. What I'm going to do is let it cool down and see what this number comes in at. If the number comes in nice and low, then we know that's the problem. Now, God, this thing looks like a pest to do that work, right? If I had to guess, the motor is going to have to come out. I think it comes out through the bottom, which means the whole cooling system's got to be messed with. Well, the good thing is I think I might have finally figured out what's wrong with this rig. This rig cooled off overnight, and you can see we're checking the pulse generator, and it's coming in at 240 ohms. Remember, I said it should be between 30 and 300. So obviously when the pulse generator gets warm, it goes open circuit and it doesn't run right. And as a matter of fact, I really wouldn't be too surprised if all its bumbling and poor running and all that might not be the pulse generator just not firing where it should be, right? The spark is moving back and forth within the advance, or, you know, firing late, firing early, you know, it's just a mess. So it needs a pulse generator. Here is a, they call it 300cc, 260cc version of the same Linhai motor. And you can see when I'm probing the pulse generator, I'm coming in at 186, somewhere around 200 ohms. So that's what it should be. It looks like I need to get this cover off. The motors are virtually the same, just a little different displacement. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 10 of these, and the cover comes off. I have to see if it's the same amount of space. I did a little research on the pulse generator. It turns out one could be had from eBay. You guys can see the covers right there. Air cleaner and all that has to come out. This box thing here has to come out. You could see the shiny part is the cover, right? The air cleaner, the carburetor. I might get this out of the way, however this comes out. I might be able to get that cover off the side of the engine without too much pain and suffering. So anyway, one of those pulse generators is wired onto the stator, and it doesn't appear as if you can buy the pulse generator separately. It appears as if you have to buy the whole assembly, And depending on where you get it, it looks like it's somewhere between 60 and $100. That's not too big a deal. I think that's what's wrong with this rig. When I came back here initially to put my CDI box on it and all that, I made a mental note that the wiring wasn't messed around with. So I have the feeling somebody, and you know, the carburetor was really clean. It looks like they had been cranking it quite a bit from the looks of the starter relay and the eventual failure. Looks like they lost the key at some point. I have the feeling what this thing originally died of was pulse generator. And then all the fooling around, all the amateur mechanics got it into its current condition. Now let's say you own this thing and the pulse generator went bad. You're kind of looking at $100 worth of parts, a quick C-note's worth of parts, and about labor, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 hours of shop time, and whatever you multiply that by, right? $150 an hour. So it could be $100 worth of parts and another $500 worth of labor. You'd find yourself putting at least $600-700 into this. Unfortunately for this machine, I can't get the plastics back. There's nowhere where they're not obtainable. Whoever took them off, you know, eventually got rid of the machine, and I think it was like they got rid of the machine to somebody who got rid of it to somebody else who left it at a girlfriend's house, owed the girlfriend money. Eventually the father of the girlfriend took the bull by the horn and said, yo, get this machine out of here or I'm selling it, and that'll pay back some money. And he did, and now I own it. So it's kind of hopped around a bit, and I can't get back to the original person, whoever that might be, to find the plastics in the bed. The bed's probably worth a certain amount of money. Even the nose clip is worth a certain amount of money, so they might have sold them off. My buddy Steve is he's working on getting me a nose for it, and I might just take one of the trailers I have floating around and borrow the bed. Though it wouldn't be a bad thing to just kind of flatbed this, just a diamond plate flatbed. Maybe come up a little bit here. There's always decisions to make on machines. My lean for this machine would be to try to get it back to as close, you know, kind of rat rod OEM condition to make it run like it should. So I think I'm going to pop for the stator, and I'm going to play Twister and go through the trouble of installing it. You know, these kind of tasks for the young people who watch those videos, you look at that and you say, oh, what's the big deal? 10 bolts, you know, 20 bolts, and I could have it in there. You know, my biggest problem is paying the $75 for a new stator. In my case, my biggest problem is turning myself into a pretzel and hanging upside down and undoing the bolts, especially the almighty bolt on the bottom that, you know, is covered by something that makes it about impossible to get out of there. So anyway, I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to bring this back. I mean, dumb little things like the seat, right? It's just a flat piece of wood, metal, plastic, whatever, with a cushion on it, right? I still got the seat belts and the backrest. Thinking of putting a windshield on it so it doesn't rain all over the dashboard. Some of these pieces, I mean, I could theoretically bend up metal to get that. About the hood, Steve is supposed to take care of me. Hopefully that all comes through. I think I need to go up there and actually pick up the stuff. He can't store it forever. Anyway, enough talking to myself. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And, you know, sometimes on these machines, you got to poke around for a while to figure out what's wrong with it. So, and that's what I'm going to do. By the way, my second plan, my plan B for this would have been to pull the motor and put like a Honda 200M with a chain drive to the transmission. Then I still have high-low, the transmission, and then I have a 5-speed. Maybe I'll do it with one of the sister machines.